graphing linear equations using the slope and the y-intercept, we want to graph and we want to label 3 points. One of the most important things about graphing straight lines is that you need to make sure that your equation is solved for y, and then we can easily get the slope and the y-intercept. Let's take a look at the first equation. Y equals 1/2 x minus 3. From the equation, we know that the y-intercept is -3. That is always located on the y-axis. So we have our first point. And then, of course, from here, we need to get 2 more points. And what we're going to do is use the slope. And the slope is positive 1/2. And so what this means is we're going to go 1 unit up and 2 units to the right. 1 unit up, 2 units to the right. And we have our second point. You want to label your points as well. So that first point is 0, -3. The second point is going to be 2, -2. And last point, just use the slope again. What you want to do is go up 1 unit and then 2 to the right. So we have our third point. Label that. That's going to be 4, -1. And of course, we just connect our points and we have our straight line. Example number 2. Y equals -2x plus 1. In this case, our y-intercept is going to be 0, 1, which is again on the y-axis. Make sure you always start with the y-intercept. Graph that first. Since the slope is negative, we can also think of this as -2/1. Since it's negative, what we need to do is go down 2 units in the negative direction and 1 unit to the right. Down 2 units, 1, 2, 1 unit to the right. Do it again, 1, 2, and 1 unit to the right. Let's label our points. We have 0, 1. Then we have 1, -1. And our last point right there is going to be 2, -3. And of course, we connect our points again and we have our graph. Okay, last example. X minus 3y is equal to 6. That's really a 3. Okay, what we need to do is make sure that we solve for y first. That needs to be done first. In order to solve for y, what we do is subtract x from both sides, which gives us -3y equals -x plus 6. Next, make sure you divide by -3. Make sure you do this to all or both sides of the equation. And of course, we also need to reduce. We're left with y equals positive 1/3 x minus 2. And so here's your equation. This is what we want to use to graph. Start at -2. That's your y-intercept right here. Then our slope is positive, so what we want to do is go up 1 unit and 3 to the right. So we have our point. And then, of course, do it again. Up 1 unit, 3 to the right. So we have our 3 points. We want to label our points here. So we have 0, -2. Then we have 3, -1. And then, of course, we have, if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we've got 6, 0. It's a lot easier if you use graph paper to make sure your graph comes out correct. Graph paper is always helpful. So we have our last graph here, and that's about it. So just make sure when you solve for y that you are careful with the negative signs and careful to make sure you divide everything by whatever number it is that you need to divide by to get y by itself. Like we divided over here everything by -3.